This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is Mike Donnell.
I'm Casey Wilbanks-Coletti.
And this is Sophia Aguilar. Welcome to Wisdom by Wessa on the Horse Radio Network.
This podcast is brought to you by the Western and English Sales Association, WESA, which provides the world's largest trade events for retailers, manufacturers, and sales representatives of the equestrian industry. In this podcast, we feature exclusive interviews with noteworthy Western and English personalities, retailers, and exhibitors who you've always wanted to talk to. Don't miss out on all the news from manufacturers and retailers in the equine industry. Today's show is all about one of WESA's retailers who have shared their buying experiences at WESA's trade show on their social media platforms. But there are also opportunities coming up for WESA members and exhibitors. Sophia is here to tell us more about that.
Yes, so Amy, our executive director, and myself, we will be traveling to the DMC at the end of March. And then Amy will host a DMC tour along with our VP, Patrick Powers, just to sort of learn more about the facility or ask questions, even share demands if there is any. And in the meantime, I will work on a video shoot. During this video shoot, we'll interview different WESA exhibitors who are already at the DMC. So if anyone wants to be part of this and wants to be featured, just let me know.
I have to giggle. What about the people that may not want to be in front of a camera?
Yes, I would totally understand that, as I would not want to be either. So some people aren't as comfortable in front of the camera. And for those people, we do offer to be part of the Wisdom by Wessa tour of the DMC. And we'll actually start that next week. So those people can be featured on the podcast instead of being in front of the camera. And we're starting that next week with Paige Wallace from Paige Wallace Designs. And then we still have some spots open after that. So reach out about that as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And let's get on to our really great interview for today.
Hey, George, thanks so much in the middle of a storm to spend some time talking with us on Wisdom by Wessa.
Be happy to visit with you. We probably have about 23, 24 inches of snow up here right now. So it's coming down, still coming down.
That's show business. You know, they like that in the mountains here in Colorado, but I'm not sure you like it there where you are.
Well, I'm kind of in the mountains of the Black Hills. So.
Okay. Well, this is good for our ski business, but not so much for you up there. Anyhow, we want to talk about your show. We want to talk about your store. I mean, you and I chatted a little bit about it. You started off on one side of the street and you moved to the other side of the street in a great big store. At least it sure looks big on your website. It's absolutely gorgeous. You've adopted video. You've adopted social media. You have kept up with the retailing times, if you will. George, why don't we start by you giving us a bit of history about your store on one side of the street and your move to the other side of the street, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, I had a small store inside of actually was inside a women's store, and thus the name COWBOYS too, because they were known as a women's store for quite a while, and I had about 500 square feet, and I started putting in men's Western wear. And so we came up with the name COWBOYS too, but as it turned out, that space was just woefully inadequate. And so a building came up for sale across the street, and we were basically out of business for probably 4 to 5 months while we completely gutted and remodeled the new store and tried to give it that Western feel. We've got some rusted tin in there and some stained car siding, and we raised the ceiling and put in some old-time fans run by leather belt, and that's where we are today. But I was looking at it the other day, and I went, "Wow, the space might be getting too small." So,
well, that's not a horrible
unfortunately,
thing.
I'm locked in on both sides. Well, it is when you're locked in on both sides, and you can't do anything else. So,
well, I guess you got to buy those buildings too, George. How many square feet you got now compared to the 500?
Oh, there's probably about 2,200 to 2,400 square feet now.
Yeah. Well, and it certainly does look good, but I think the interesting part, and I mentioned in the introduction I did, the chief executive officer of one of the Fortune 500 companies once made a statement, everything is marketing. And when you take a look at your store, your design, your product line, your use of social media, I tend to think you kind of follow the same format, that everything that you do can be used to help enhance the marketing of your products.
Well, that's exactly right. When we decided to move, one of the things that was foremost in our mind was that men didn't like walking through the women's clothing to get to the men's side, or where our Western wear was. And so uppermost in our mind when we did this was that we wanted this place to be comfortable for both men and women. And I think we've accomplished that goal.
Oh, I think you clearly have. Talk a bit about how you're using social media to both sell product and attract customers.
Well, I have a partner in the store. She's not an owner, but she's kind of a social media guru, and so she does all that. She started off by doing it for me when I was across the street in the 500 square feet. Actually, she was out in Oregon at the time, and I met her through her sister, and she was doing my social media when she was in Oregon. Well, then her and her husband and daughter decided to move to Belle, Fourche, and so she's now in the store every day posting, doing the pictures. We do a lot of photography and live video and so forth. One of the things that we're really, really big in is, we have the roundup, and that might not mean anything to you, but we're like the medium-sized roundup rodeo of the year for the last 2 years.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've also had we've hosted the high school rodeo high school rodeo finals for South Dakota for quite some time. And we always take pictures of the kids when they come in and shop, and we post where they're from and what their specialty is, whether they're, bronc riding or bull riding or calf roping, whatever. And we post that and we keep up with it. So we've done quite a bit of that. We're really big on showing our product out there.
You guys are just excellent on social media, and that is part of the reason why we wanted to talk to you today. And so I do want to talk to you a little bit about that. And you've touched on some of it, but I kind of scrolled through, and there's some things I noticed. Most recently, you guys had a contest for ugly boots, an ugly boot contest. And then after the WISA show, you guys actually went to social media to do some unpacking of your orders. And so I don't see, you guys are kind of, you have a lot of ideas going on. And like you just mentioned, the high school rodeo kids, is there a group effort in the brainstorming, or is this all put on your social media gal that you were just highly speaking of?
I will have to give Michelle 100% of the credit for that. We sit down and we talk about, well, what about this or what about that? And we'll come up with an idea. And of course, we've got this ugly boot contest going on. And the way it works is people have brought their boots into the store. We display them, put a number on them. And then folks, whoever happens to come in, we ask them to vote on a pair of boots, which ones they think are the ugliest. So a vote in the store counts as 2. A vote over the internet counts as 1. And at the end of the day, somebody's going to win a new pair of boots. But the crazy thing is, I don't know if you've seen our latest ugly boots, but those things are pretty bad. And
I saw one wrapped.
Unbelievable.
Is that a new one or is that an old one?
No, that's so far the leader. And he wants them back. He wants those boots back.
Those are worked in.
Yep. Yeah. He says all he has to do is wrap a fresh piece of tape around him and he's good to go again. So, I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Wants to hear.
Yeah. This week, what we have going on is we've got the FFA chapter. It's FFA week in South Dakota here. I don't know if that's national or if it's just South Dakota, but we're doing a promotion where 10% of our sales are going to the local FFA group. So we support the community. We put on a concert every year called When the Work Is Done, and usually in November. It's a kind of give a pat on the back to our farmers and ranchers for all the work that they've done. And we bring in some poets and cowboy poets and some cowboy music and have a little shindig in Belle, and we've been getting on average anywhere from 150 to 200 people there for the evening. So
that's great.
Those
you
are
know
just
what interests
a few of the outreach things into the community. Yeah.
What interests me so much, George, is when I go to your website at cowboys2.com and click on About to go to your story, and it says, neither of us own a horse or a cow, but we love the Western and cowboy lifestyle, which I think brings a really unique element to that. And so what was the desire to support this great industry?
Well, I have a friend in Minnesota. I'm from Rochester, Minnesota, and where the Mayo Clinic is. My wife still works for Mayo, but she telecommutes. And, I've always liked the Western wear, and I had a client that had a Western store there called COWBOYS, and she told me not to get into the business. And then I looked for property out here and built a house and so forth, and I got into the business. So here we are.
Good for
says,
you.
Oh my God, you're a retired insurance guy and you want to get into Western wear? What's up with that? And so I said, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. So here we are.
Great. Well, and to extend on that, you've been a part, yes, and you've been a great addition to the WISA family, which is why you're invited to come on this show. Talk just a little bit about your relationship with WISA and the positiveness between that relationship there. And then if you could just touch a little bit about what you did share on social media after the most recent WISA trade show in January.
Yeah, well, we had not been there, of course, neither one of us prior to us owning the business, but started going there as soon as I started buying product from, my Western vendors. And it's always a great time to go there and see what's new and what's coming out and, looking at new things. We have our standbys that we do a lot of business with, and now we're kind of branching out because we've found some other little out of the way places that do in smaller batches, and we're looking at that as a boutique kind of thing. And there are just some really wonderful folk there that are willing to help you out and guide you. And what I really appreciate about the vendors, they're pretty honest, and they know that not everything that they have is for you or your area, and they'll just flat tell you that you should get this, but don't buy that. And we really appreciate that a lot because we're still rookies. We're still learning. And having them be able to guide us is really important. And, of course, we always have fun with it. We do some live videos while we're walking around there and let people know where we are and what we're doing and what's going on, with us and our vendors. So they have an opportunity to even comment. We post some of that stuff. What do you folks think about this article or that article? And before we leave the showroom, we're getting texts back from people saying, boy, I really like that. I want that, in this size. And so we're off and running before we even get out of the center there.
George, another couple of questions. How big a geographic market are you serving in terms of your walk-in customers, and how well is your online business doing?
Well, we just now, probably the last couple of months, formed a website. So, and that is just starting to pick up. But we're about 30, 40 miles west of Rapid City. And so we draw from North Dakota because the folks are coming down through Belle Fourche, going to Deadwood to do a little gambling and entertainment. We reach into Wyoming. So our geographic area is really South Dakota, Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana. Belle Fourche used to be the hub in that area. If you remember the movie The Cowboys with John Wayne, when he was traveling and doing the cattle drive with all the kids.
Sure.
They were coming to Belle Fourche. They were coming to Belle Fourche to sell the cattle. Belle Fourche shipped more cattle to the east than any other place in the country at that time. We have a large wool processing factory here, one of the biggest warehouses in the country, and most of the wool goes to military. And we were a hub. We were the shopping center. And, of course, a lot of that's died away with the box stores and so forth. And right now we're on a big program called Bring Back Belle. So we're encouraging people to invest in the properties downtown do some build outs, and I'm happy to say we kind of led that little effort, and more shops popping up every day. So it's working. We're getting people to come back and shop with us.
That's great. And clearly they can see what you've done and realize that if you put some planning into it and some creativity into it, it will work. So I'm sure you'll have neighbors who are following in their own business models the same way. George, listen, you've told us some very interesting stories about that store. I would tell people to take a look at your website, follow your social media if you're looking to see how people do it in other parts of the country. If you're a retailer in another part of the country, Cowboys 2 is kind of a business model, if you will, for a great-looking store, which goes back and shows the motif of the Western lifestyle, coupled with the modern part of social media, the website, and the videos. It's just a great story, and we thank you for sharing it.
Oh, I appreciate it. And we're working hard, trying to satisfy everybody that we can.
We thank you for your time. You came through loud and clear, so we're good to go, and we wish you luck with Cowboys 2.
All right. Thanks, appreciate George. It very much.
Show notes and links from today's show are at wisdombywisa.com. And of course, we'd love to hear your feedback. We have a contact link on that website.
The Wisdom by Wisa show will be published on the 15th and 30th of every month. You can listen on most of your favorite podcast players, and you can also listen on the Horse Radio Network app on your iOS or Android phone. You just search Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and it's super easy to use. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Thanks for listening to the Wisdom by Wisa podcast. Wisa, where the industry meets.